I always thought my family was pretty normal. My parents weren't perfect, but they tried. At least that's what I used to believe. We weren't rich, but we had a decent home, meals on the table, and family dinners where we talked about our day. You know, the kind of stuff they show in movies about happy families. My mom was the glue. She worked part-time at a local bookstore, baked cookies on weekends, and knew all my teachers' names. She remembered little details, like how I liked my sandwiches or what socks I wore on test days because I said they were lucky. She was always there, always listening, always knowing. That's what made what I found feel so wrong. It started with something so small. My mom left her main phone on the kitchen counter and ran out to the garden. The phone buzzed. I glanced at it. Just instinct. But it wasn't her usual wallpaper. It looked different. Then I realized it wasn't even her usual phone. It looked similar, sure, same brand, same model maybe. But the case was plain black instead of the floral one she always used. And there was a small crack in the top corner. I had never seen that crack before. My heart started to race, even though I told myself I was being ridiculous. Why would Mom have two phones? I waited until she was outside longer, supposedly trimming roses. I picked up the second phone and pressed the power button. No lock. That was the first surprise. My mom was always careful. She had passwords for everything. But this one, open, unprotected. And what I saw next changed everything I thought I knew about her. There were messages, dozens of them, from names I didn't recognize. Some were short, just a few words. Others were long paragraphs upon paragraphs. And then there were the pictures. Some of them innocent enough, selfies, locations. Others, not so much. My stomach dropped. There were messages from a man named David. And these weren't work messages. They weren't friendly check-ins. These were deeply personal, emotional, even intimate. He called her baby. She called him my love. I felt frozen, standing there in the kitchen. My hands were shaking. I tried to tell myself there had to be some explanation. Maybe this was old. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. But the timestamps said otherwise. Some messages were just from last night, while I had been in the next room watching TV with Dad. She had been texting this man, laughing, flirting, planning. I clicked into the photo gallery. More of the same. Pictures of her in the mirror, some of them taken in our house. In the bathroom. In the bedroom she shared with Dad. She smiled in ways I hadn't seen in years. A different kind of smile. Like someone in love. Not like someone living a double life. I didn't even notice she had come back inside until her voice cut through the silence. I jumped and quickly set the phone down. She raised an eyebrow, noticing the position of the phone. Her eyes flicked to mine. For a second, we just stared at each other. No words. Just this heavy, suffocating pause. I couldn't hide the look on my face. I know I couldn't. She knew I had seen something. She tried to speak. I saw her lips part, then close again. She walked past me, picked up the phone, and without looking at me, said she needed to go lie down. I didn't follow her. I didn't say anything. I stood there, still as stone, as if moving would make it all more real. How could someone who felt like the safest person in the world become the person who shattered it all with a second phone? Have you ever discovered a secret about someone you love that made you question everything? What would you do if the person you trusted most turned out to be someone else entirely? Let me know what you think in the comments. This story is voiced by artificial intelligence, and there may be small errors. If you notice anything off, feel free to point it out so we can make future stories even better. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I had seen. My mom's footsteps echoed faintly in the hallway hours later, and then silence. No creaks of the fridge door opening for a midnight snack. No whispers through the walls like usual. Just silence. It felt like the whole house was holding its breath, waiting for something to break. In the morning, she acted like nothing happened. She made eggs, poured juice, set the table. I sat across from her in disbelief, watching her every move. She didn't make eye contact. Her face looked tired, but there was no apology in it.
No explanation.
Just calm, practiced movements like this was any other day. My dad came in a few minutes later, smiling, kissing her cheek, grabbing his coffee. He didn't notice anything different. And why would he? She was pretending perfectly. Couldn't eat. My stomach was still twisted up, and every bite felt like betrayal. Betrayal of what I knew, of what I couldn't say. I kept looking at her, hoping she'd look back, hoping she'd say something. But she didn't. She never even glanced my way. After breakfast, I locked myself in my room and opened my own phone. I couldn't stop thinking about the name David. I searched through my memories trying to find someone, anyone, who fit. But there was no David in our life. Not a family friend, not someone from church, not a name that had ever come up in conversation. It was like he lived only in her secret world. I tried to forget. For days, I tried to act normal. School, chores, dinner. But it all felt wrong. Fake. Like I was living in someone else's life. I couldn't stop wondering how long this had been going on. Was it months? Years? How many times had she lied to us? Lied to me? Every time I heard her laugh at Dad's jokes. Every time she reminded me to wear my jacket. Every time she said she loved us before bed. It felt like a performance. And I couldn't stop playing back the messages in my mind. The ones where she said things to David that she never said to Dad anymore. The ones that made my skin crawl. One evening, I caught her in the hallway. She was alone, holding laundry. I stepped in front of her. She looked startled. I asked her quietly if she was going to tell Dad. Her face went pale. She shook her head, just barely. I asked her why. She said it was complicated, that it wasn't what I thought, that she loved our family, that she never meant to hurt anyone. But that was the thing. She had, even if she didn't mean to, she had broken something in me, something I didn't know could break. Trust isn't like a light switch. You don't flip it off and on. It shatters, cracks, and even if you glue it back together, it's never the same. I walked away without saying another word. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt empty, like something had been scooped out of me and thrown away. Have you ever looked at someone you love and wondered how they could lie so easily? How they could hold your hand with one and stab your heart with the other? Share your thoughts below. I stopped speaking to her. Not out loud, not in some dramatic way. I just withdrew. We still lived under the same roof. I still said good morning and thanks when I had to. But inside I was somewhere else. I watched her closely. I wanted to see a sign that she was sorry, that she understood what she'd done. But there was nothing. She carried on like before, like nothing had changed. Maybe for her it hadn't. Maybe the second life was just as real to her as the one with us. I wondered if my dad ever noticed. He seemed happy, clueless, still telling his corny jokes, still fixing the garage door that never really broke, still holding her hand when they walked down the street. Sometimes I wanted to scream at him, ask him how he couldn't see it, how he could be so blind. But then I'd look at his face, and I'd see how much he loved her, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't be the one to break his heart. I kept everything bottled up, let it burn in silence. I started staying out later, walking around the neighborhood with no direction, just moving, just trying to escape. Sometimes I ended up at the park, staring at the same swing I used to sit on as a kid. Back when Mom pushed me, and I thought the world was simple. At school, I drifted. Teachers talked, but I didn't hear them. Friends asked questions, but I gave short answers. I was there, but not really. Then one night, I saw her leave the house. She said she was meeting a friend. I waited 10 minutes. Then I followed. I didn't have a plan, just an urge. I stayed back, far enough not to be seen. She didn't go to the coffee shop or a friend's place. She drove across town, parked in front of an apartment building. And then I saw him, David. I didn't need an introduction. I just knew. The way he hugged her, the way she melted into it, that wasn't new. I stood in the shadows, watching, frozen. Something inside me cracked. Again, I walked home. Every step felt heavier than the last. Have you ever seen something with your own eyes and still hoped it wasn't real? Let me know how you'd handle something like this. Would you confront her? Tell your dad? Or just keep pretending everything is fine? I'm still not sure what I'll do. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't stop thinking about what I saw. I felt like a spy in my own life, watching, listening, pretending I didn't know. Every time I looked at her, I saw him too. I saw that apartment door, that embrace, that lie. She laughed like nothing happened. She packed lunches. She folded laundry. She talked about weekend plans. And all I could do was nod, pretend, swallow the truth like it was poison. I started writing everything down, pages and pages. Not because I wanted to expose her. I just needed to get it out of my head. I was tired of carrying it alone, of being the only one who knew. One night, I found her phone on the charger in the hallway. Not the real phone, the secret one. She must have forgotten. Or maybe she thought I wouldn't dare touch it again. But I did. I opened the messages. There were new ones. Nothing as shocking as before, but still enough. More proof. More weight on my chest. He missed her. She missed him too. He asked when they could spend a night together. She didn't say no. I put the phone back exactly where it was. My hands were sweating. My heart was racing. But I felt something new. Not fear. Not confusion. Just anger. Cold, quiet anger. She was choosing this. Not by accident. Not out of weakness. She was making a choice every day to lie. To live two lives. And worst of all, she thought no one saw it. The next morning, I looked her straight in the eyes. She smiled at me, like nothing was wrong. I didn't smile back. I don't know if she noticed. Maybe she did. Maybe she's too far gone to care. Have you ever carried a secret so heavy it changed how you breathe? What would you do if someone you loved acted like your pain didn't exist? Let it out in the comments. Maybe I'm not the only one holding everything in. I started to change. Not suddenly. Slowly. Quietly. I stopped sitting at the dinner table. I ate in my room. I told my parents I was tired. They believed me. Or maybe they just didn't ask. I answered my mom with one-word replies. She didn't push. She probably thought it was just teenage moodiness. If only it were that simple. I stopped trusting small things. Her compliments. Her hugs. The way she asked how my day was. It all felt fake. Forced. Like she was following a script. But even through the anger, I missed her. Or maybe I missed who she used to be. Or who I thought she was. I wasn't sure anymore. Everything blurred together. Memories. Emotions. Trust. The school, my grades slipped. I stopped turning things in. I stared at blank pages for hours. Teachers noticed. They called on me more. I gave blank stares back. One teacher pulled me aside. Asked if everything was okay at home. I wanted to scream yes. And also no. I wanted to spill everything. But I didn't. I just said I was tired. That I'd try harder. He nodded like he understood. But no one really did. Because I didn't tell them. I watched my dad more. Watched how he smiled when she passed him the salt. How he laughed at her stories. How he still believed in her. And I envied him. I wished I could go back to that place. Before I knew. Before everything cracked. But I couldn't. You can't unsee the truth. You can't unknow a betrayal. Some nights I'd lie awake and wonder what he would do if he found out. Would he cry? Would he leave? Or would he stay and pretend to? I think the pretending is worse. It makes you feel crazy. Like the truth doesn't matter. Like it never happened. What would you do if your home started to feel like a stage? If every smile felt rehearsed? Let me know. Because I'm starting to forget what real even looks like. I didn't plan to tell anyone. I really didn't. But secrets have a way of leaking out, even when you try to hold them tight. It happened one afternoon. My cousin Mia came over. We weren't super close, but we used to hang out when we were little. She noticed something was off right away. She asked if I was okay. I said yes. She didn't believe me. She just sat next to me in silence. Sometimes that's worse than questions. After a while, I cracked. I didn't say much, just that I found out something about my mom. Something big. Something I couldn't unsee. Mia didn't push for details. She just said, "I'm here." That was enough. For a moment, I didn't feel alone. Later that night, I thought about telling more people. But the thought made my skin crawl. What if they judged her? What if they judged me? What if I made it worse? So I didn't. I kept it small. Just that one crack in the wall. The days kept moving. I kept pretending. But something shifted. My mom started acting differently. More careful. More quiet. Like she could feel the tension. One day, she asked if I wanted to go get lunch. Just us. I said no. She looked hurt, but didn't say anything. She knew. I could tell. She didn't know what I knew, but she knew something had changed. The air between us was heavier now, like a storm was always about to break. I wondered if she looked at me and felt guilty, or if she just felt exposed. Maybe both. Maybe neither. I couldn't read her anymore. Have you ever looked someone in the eye and wondered if they were scared of you too? Because now I think we're both afraid. Just for different reasons. The weather changed. Clouds came in more often. Cold crept through the windows. It matched how I felt inside. Quiet, heavy, gray. I watched my mom go through the motions. She still smiled at neighbors. Still packed Dad's lunch. Still asked about my tests. But now I watched for slips. Any hesitation. Any sign of guilt. I didn't find any. She had become a professional at hiding. I wondered how long she'd been practicing. How many lies had built this version of her. One morning, I noticed her sitting in the living room, staring at nothing. Her coffee untouched. Her phone beside her. The secret one. She didn't hear me come in. I walked past like I didn't see it. But that image burned into my mind. Her sitting there like a statue. Like someone waiting for a signal. I started wondering about David more. Who he really was. How they met. What made her risk everything. Was he better than my dad? Or just newer? Shinier? I didn't know what hurt more. That she was in love with someone else. Or that she never told me. Some nights I would stare at the ceiling and try to imagine their conversations. What did they laugh about? What did she share with him that she hid from us? There's a special kind of pain that comes when someone gives their best to a stranger and leaves you with the leftovers. That's what it felt like. Do you think some people are just wired to lie? Or do they become that way over time? Tell me what you believe, because I still don't know what to believe about her. Something shifted in my dad. Slowly, subtly, he started asking small questions. Not the big ones, just little observations. Like why Mom was going out more, or why she seemed tired all the time. At first, she had answers. Quick ones. Casual. Oh, just meeting a friend. Work's been busy. The usual. But I noticed the way he looked at her. Longer pauses. A crease in his forehead. Like a seed of doubt had been planted. And he didn't know what to do with it. One evening, he asked me if everything was okay at home. I froze. I wanted to tell him. I almost did. But Elite said everything was fine. He nodded. But he didn't look convinced. That night, I couldn't sleep. Again. I stared at the ceiling, counting heartbeats. I kept imagining the moment he would find out. Not from me, but on his own. A message left open. A wrong name on a call log. And then what? Would he get angry? Would he cry? Would he leave? Or would he stay and pretend, the way I had been pretending? I wasn't ready to see his world break. Not yet, even if mine already had. The next day he came home early. Said he wasn't feeling well. Mom looked worried, but he brushed it off. He went straight to their room and shut the door. That evening, she made his favorite meal. Chicken and rice. He barely touched it. The silence at the table was louder than words. Have you ever watched two people pretend not to know something they both feel in their bones? That's what our house had become. A stage. And none of us were good actors anymore. It finally happened on a Sunday. Cold rain outside. The kind that taps on windows like it's trying to warn you. Dad asked her straight out. Calm voice. No shouting. Just a question hanging in the air. Are you seeing someone else? She didn't answer right away. Her hand trembled just slightly. Then she said no. Simple. Quiet. But I saw it. The look in his eyes. He didn't believe her. He stood up. Walked away. Said he needed air. She stayed in the kitchen, holding her mug like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. I wanted to scream, to run after him, to tell him everything. But I didn't. Instead, I sat on the stairs, listening to the rain, watching shadows move across the floor. Later that night, I heard them talking again. Not yelling, just soft, strained voices behind a closed door. I couldn't hear the words, but I didn't need to. Something broke that night, something quiet and final. The next morning, Dad didn't eat breakfast. He left early. She sat alone at the table. For once, she didn't make my lunch. She didn't even look at me. I grabbed a granola bar and left without a word. It was happening. The truth was catching up, and no one was ready for it. Have you ever watched a lie unravel right in front of you and still wished it could be stopped? Because even now, part of me wanted to rewind, to forget, to go back to before. But there's no going back, only forward, into whatever comes next. The house is quieter now, but not the peaceful kind. It's the kind of quiet that feels sharp, like it's listening, waiting. My dad comes home later. He doesn't ask as many questions. My mom doesn't talk as much. No more casual humming in the kitchen. No more asking about my day. Some mornings they don't even sit together. I keep to myself, still pretending, still watching. But there's less to pretend now. The truth has already changed everything. I think about telling my mom I knew all along, that I saw everything, that I read the messages, that I followed her. But I never do. Not yet. Maybe I don't want to hurt her. Or maybe I don't want to see her hurt more than she already is. Or maybe I'm still just scared. I keep writing, page after page. It helps. A little. Sometimes I wonder if she regrets it. If she lies awake thinking about how it all slipped out of her hands. And I wonder what comes next for us. If we can ever fix what's broken. If families can survive when trust is gone. Maybe some do. Maybe some don't. Maybe we're somewhere in between. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: people are not always who they appear to be. Even the ones you love the most. And secrets have a way of surfacing, no matter how deep you bury them. Have you ever seen your family break, piece by piece? If this story touched you, or reminded you of something from your own life, share your thoughts in the comments. This story was voiced using artificial intelligence. If you noticed any mistakes or moments that felt off, please let us know so we can improve the experience for you next time.